I was giving my valedictorian speech when cops burst in and almost shot my parents. My name is Madison, and I had practiced that speech for 2 months. Every word, every pause, every inflection. I knew it by heart. I was talking about perseverance and community and the future we were all going to build together. I was exactly 43 seconds into my speech when 6 police officers walked down the center aisle like they were raiding a drug den instead of attending a high school graduation. I stopped mid-sentence. Everyone in the auditorium turned to look. There were maybe 400 people there. Parents, siblings, teachers, all the graduating seniors in their caps and gowns. The June sun was streaming through the windows and it was hot, and everyone had been fanning themselves with their programs. The officers walked straight to the third row where my parents were sitting. My dad stood up first. He looked at my mom, then at me on the stage. His face went completely white. My mom grabbed his arm, but one of the officers stepped between them. "Daniel Patterson, Jennifer Patterson, you are under arrest," the lead officer said. His voice carried through the whole auditorium, even though he was not yelling. My mom started crying, just immediately started sobbing. My dad put his hands up like he was surrendering, which I guess he was. The officers handcuffed them both right there in front of everyone. My classmates were whispering, parents were standing up to see better, and I just stood frozen at the podium with my speech crumpled in my hand. My mom looked at me as they led her down the aisle. She mouthed something. I think it was, "I'm sorry, but I could not be sure." They were gone in less than 2 minutes. Principal Hoffman came up onto the stage. He looked like he might pass out. He said something about taking a brief intermission, that we would resume the ceremony shortly, but I was not listening. I walked off the stage and straight out the side door. My best friend Kayla followed me. She found me sitting on the concrete steps behind the auditorium, still in my graduation gown, staring at nothing. "What just happened?" she asked. "I have no idea," I said. "That was 3 years ago, and I am still finding out what happened." Let me back up just a little bit because you need to understand what my life was like before that day. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania called Millbrook, population about 8,000, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where the main street has one traffic light, where the biggest event of the year is the fall festival at the fairgrounds. My parents were normal, boring even. My dad worked as an accountant at a local firm. My mom was a librarian at the elementary school. We lived in a small blue house with a garden that my mom was always fussing over. We had a dog named Biscuit. We went to church on Sundays. We were spectacularly, overwhelmingly average. I was an only child. My parents always said they wanted more kids, but it never happened. My mom had some kind of fertility issues. She mentioned it once or twice, but never went into detail. I never really cared. I liked being an only child. I got all the attention, all the resources. My parents put everything into making sure I succeeded, and I did succeed. I was the perfect daughter. Straight A's, captain of the debate team, volunteer at the animal shelter, member of student council. I got into Cornell with a partial scholarship. I was going to study pre-law. I was going to be someone. Then the police showed up at graduation. After they took my parents away, I went to the police station. Kayla drove me there in her mom's car. The officers would not let me see my parents. They said I needed to speak to a detective first. Detective Morrison was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and kind eyes. She took me into a small room and offered me water. I said no. She sat down across from me and folded her hands on the table. "Madison, I need to ask you some questions," she said. "Where are my parents? What did they do? They have been arrested on charges of kidnapping, falsifying documents, and evading law enforcement." I laughed. I actually laughed because it was so ridiculous. "That is impossible. My parents are librarians and accountants. They have never even gotten a speeding ticket." Detective Morrison opened a folder. She pulled out a photograph and slid it across the table to me. It was a picture of a baby, maybe 6 months old, dark curly hair, big brown eyes. She was wearing a yellow dress with ducks on it. "Do you recognize this baby?" Detective Morrison asked. I stared at the photo. "No, should I? This is you. Or rather, this is the baby your parents took from a hospital in Ohio 18 years ago." The room went silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. "That is not possible," I said, but my voice sounded far away. Detective Morrison pulled out more photos, documents, hospital records, a birth certificate that was not the one I had seen my whole life. "Your real name is Emma Grace Holloway," she said. "You were born on March 15th, 2005 at St. Vincent's Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. Your biological mother is Rebecca Holloway. When you were 6 months old, you were taken from the hospital during a routine checkup. Your mother thought you had been kidnapped by a stranger." The case went cold after 2 years. I could not breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in. "You are lying," I said. "This is a mistake." Detective Morrison's face was sympathetic. "I am sorry, Madison. I know this is a lot to process, but we have DNA evidence. We have surveillance footage from the hospital that shows your parents leaving with you. We have been looking for you for 18 years. Why now?" I asked. "Why arrest them at my graduation?" "Because we finally found you," she said. "Your mother, Rebecca Holloway, never stopped looking. She hired private investigators, kept the case active, did everything she could. Last year, one of your photos from the debate team was published in a regional newspaper. Someone who knew the case saw it and contacted the authorities. It took us months to verify, but we ran your DNA through the system when you donated blood at the school drive last fall. It was a match. I had donated blood to help Mrs. Chen, one of the teachers who needed surgery. It was supposed to be a good deed." "Where is she?" I asked. "This Rebecca person. She is on her way here. She has wanted to meet you since the day you were taken." I stood up. "I need to see my parents. I need to hear this from them." Detective Morrison hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, but Madison, you need to prepare yourself. They are not who you think they are." They let me see my dad first. He was in a holding cell, still wearing the clothes he had worn to my graduation. His tie was loose and his face was red and blotchy like he had been crying. When he saw me, he started crying again. "Maddie," he said. He always called me Maddie. "I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Tell me it is not true," I said. "Tell me you did not take me from another family." My dad put his face in his hands. "It is true." The floor dropped out from under me. I grabbed the bars of the cell to keep from falling. "Why?" I whispered. My dad looked up at me. His eyes were red. "Your mother and I, we tried for years to have a baby. Years. We did fertility treatments, we tried adoption, nothing worked. The agencies kept turning us down because of some problems in my background, things I did when I was younger. Nothing serious, just stupid mistakes, but it was enough to disqualify us." He took a shaky breath. "Then we met this woman, someone who worked at the hospital in Ohio. She told us about babies who were in bad situations, mothers who were unfit, kids who would be better off with good parents. She said she could arrange something. It would be expensive and it would not be official, but she could give us us a baby, so you bought me, I said. No, my dad said quickly. It was not like that. She told us your birth mother was a drug addict, that you were going to be put into the system, that you deserved a better life. She said the adoption would be finalized later, that we just needed to take you first and the paperwork would follow. We believed her. And when the paperwork never came, my dad's voice cracked. We were already too deep in. We loved you. You were our daughter. We could not give you back. So we ran. We changed our names, moved to Pennsylvania, created new identities. We thought if we kept our heads down, if we lived quiet lives, no one would ever find us. What about my real mother? Did you ever think about her? Every day, my dad said. Your mother, Jennifer, she wanted to reach out so many times. She wanted to know if Rebecca was okay, if she was really unfit like we were told, but we were too scared. If we contacted anyone, they would find us. So we just tried to give you the best life we could. I stepped back from the cell. You ruined that woman's life. You stole her baby. And you lied to me for 18 years. Maddie, please, my dad said. We love you. We have always loved you. We just wanted to be parents. You are not my parents, I said. You are kidnappers. I walked out. I went to see my mom next. She was in a different cell, curled up on the bench with her knees to her chest. When she saw me, she tried to smile, but it came out wrong. Hi, sweetheart, she said. I could not look at her. Dad told me everything. My mom nodded. I know you must hate us. I do not know what I feel, I said honestly. You raised me. You took care of me. You were good parents, but you also lied to me about who I am. You stole me from someone who loved me. I never stopped thinking about her, my mom said quietly. Rebecca. I used to imagine what she was doing, if she was okay, if she thought about you. I told myself that we were giving you a better life, that we were saving you from something terrible. But I think I always knew the truth. I knew we did something unforgivable. Then why did you not turn yourselves in? Because I am a coward, my mom said. Because I loved you too much to let you go. Because once you start lying, it gets easier and easier until you forget what the truth even looks like. She reached through the bars toward me. I did not take her hand. I'm sorry, Madison, she said. I am sorry we did this to you. I am sorry we did this to Rebecca. I am sorry for everything. But I need you to know that every moment we spent with you was real. Every birthday, every school play, every time we told you we were proud of you. That was all real, but it was built on a lie, I said. My mom started crying. I know. I left without saying goodbye. Detective Morrison was waiting for me in the hallway. She said Rebecca Holloway had arrived and wanted to meet me. I said I was not ready. She said Rebecca had been waiting 18 years. I said I needed time, so they gave me time. 3 days, to be exact. I stayed with Kayla and her family. They did not ask many questions, which I appreciated. Kayla's mom made me tea and told me I could stay as long as I needed. Kayla just sat with me while I stared at the wall and tried to process the fact that my entire life was a fabrication. I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo of baby me in the yellow duck dress. I kept thinking about the woman who had dressed me that day, who had taken me to the hospital for a routine appointment, who had turned around for 1 second and lost her daughter forever. On the third day, I agreed to meet her. We met at the police station in a conference room. Detective Morrison was there as a mediator. I sat on one side of the table with my hands folded in my lap, trying to look calm even though my heart was racing. Then Rebecca Holloway walked in. She looked like me, or I looked like her. Same dark curly hair, same brown eyes, same small nose. She was in her early 40s, wearing jeans and a plain blue shirt. She had dark circles under her eyes like she had not slept in weeks. When she saw me, she put her hand over her mouth and started crying. Emma, she whispered. Madison, I corrected automatically. My name is Madison. Rebecca nodded quickly, wiping her eyes. I am sorry, Madison. I know that is who you are. I have been calling you Emma in my head for so long. We sat down across from each other. Neither of us knew what to say. Finally, Rebecca spoke. I want you to know that I never stopped looking for you. Not for one single day. I hired investigators. I called the police constantly. I posted your picture everywhere. People told me to move on, to accept that you were gone, but I could not. You were my baby. You are my baby. Tell me what happened, I said. That day at the hospital. Rebecca took a shaky breath. You were 6 months old. You had an ear infection, nothing serious, but I wanted the doctor to check you. We went to the pediatrician's office at the hospital. I put you down on the examination table for just a second while I filled out paperwork. When I turned around, you were gone. The door was open. A nurse said she saw a woman in scrubs carrying a baby down the hallway, but by the time security responded, you were already gone. What about my father? I asked, and where was he? Rebecca's face went dark. Your father was not in the picture. He left when I was pregnant. I was raising you alone. I was 24 years old, working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet, but I loved you more than anything in the world. The people who took me, Daniel and Jennifer, they said you were a drug addict, that I was better off with them. Rebecca's face went red. That is a lie. I have never done drugs in my life. I was struggling financially, yes, but I was a good mother. I would have died for you. Detective Morrison pulled out a file. We have investigated Rebecca extensively. She has no criminal record, no history of substance abuse. She worked as a waitress and a cashier at the time of the abduction. She has spent nearly every penny she earned over the last 18 years trying to find her daughter. I looked at Rebecca. She looked tired and sad and broken, but she also looked determined, like she had been running a marathon for 18 years and finally crossed the finish line. What happens now? I asked. That depends on you, Detective Morrison said. Legally, you are an adult. You can choose who you want in your life. Rebecca wants to build a relationship with you, but she understands if you need time. And Daniel and Jennifer, they will be prosecuted, Detective Morrison said. Kidnapping, falsifying documents, identity fraud. They are looking at significant prison time. I felt sick. These were the people who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike, who stayed up late helping me with homework, who cried at my graduation before the police dragged them away. They were criminals, but they were also my parents. Can I have some time alone with Rebecca? I asked. Detective Morrison nodded and left the room. Rebecca and I sat in silence for a moment. Then she said, I do not expect you to call me mom. I do not expect you to love me or even like me. I just want to know you. I want to be part of your life in whatever way you are comfortable with. I do not know who I am anymore, I said. My whole life was a lie. Everything I thought I knew about myself, my family, my history, it is all fake. No, Rebecca said firmly. You are still you. Your name might be different, your history might be different, but you are still the same person. You are still smart and driven and kind. Nothing can change that. How do you know I am any of those things? I asked. You do not know me. Rebecca pulled out her phone. She scrolled through it for a second, then turned it toward me. On the screen were dozens of articles, photos, news clippings, all about me. My debate team wins, my volunteer work, my academic achievements. I have been following you for the last year, Rebecca said. since we found out where you were. I know this is probably creepy, but I could not help myself. I read everything I could find about you. You are incredible, Madison. You are everything I dreamed you would be. I stared at the phone. Seeing my whole life compiled like that, through the eyes of a stranger, was surreal. I am going to Cornell in the fall, I said. Pre-law. I got a partial scholarship. Rebecca's face lit up. That is amazing. You must have worked so hard. Daniel and Jennifer pushed me, I said. Then I corrected myself. My kidnappers pushed me. Rebecca flinched at the word. They raised you. I hate them for taking you, but they raised you to be a good person. I have to give them that. How are you not angrier? I asked. They stole your baby. They ruined your life. I am angry, Rebecca said. I am furious. But being angry will not give me back the 18 years I lost with you. So right now, I am choosing to focus on the fact that you are alive, you are healthy, and you are sitting across from me. That is more than I ever thought I would get. I did not know what to say to that. We talked for another hour. Rebecca told me about her life, about how she never married because she could not move on from losing me, about how she became a nurse because she wanted to help people the way she wished someone had helped her, about the small apartment in Cleveland, where she still had a room set up for me with toys and books she had bought over the years, hoping I would come home. I told her about my life in Millbrook, about Kayla, about my plans for Cornell. It felt strange talking to her, like I was talking to a mirror that showed me what I could have been. When we finally left the police station, Rebecca asked if she could hug me. I hesitated, then said yes. She held me like I was going to disappear again. She smelled like lavender and something else I could not identify. It should have felt wrong, but it did not. It just felt sad. Can I see you again? Rebecca asked when she let go. Yeah, I said. I think I would like that. Over the next few weeks, my life became a media circus. The local news picked up the story, then the national news. Girl reunited with mother after 18 years was the headline everywhere. Reporters camped outside Kayla's house. I had to shut down all my social media because people would not stop sending me messages. The worst part was reading the comments. Half the people said Rebecca was a saint who never gave up. The other half said Daniel and Jennifer were just trying to give a child a good home and did not deserve to be vilified. Some people even suggested that I was better off with them, that Rebecca was too poor to raise a child properly. It made me want to scream. Cornell sent me a letter saying my enrollment was still secure, that they understood this was a difficult time and that I could defer if I needed to. I seriously considered it. How was I supposed to go off to college and pretend everything was normal? But then I thought about all the work I had put in to get there. All the late nights studying, all the hours practicing for debates, all the scholarship applications. Daniel and Jennifer had pushed me, yes, but I had done the work, and I was not going to let their crimes take that away from me. So I decided to go. But first, I had to figure out what to do about the trial. Daniel and Jennifer were being held without bail. Their lawyer contacted me and asked if I would testify on their behalf, speak to their character, tell the court that they were good parents despite what they had done. I said no. The lawyer called back 3 times trying to convince me. He said it would help their case, that it would show the jury they had raised me well, that they were not monsters. I told him I could not do it. He said I owed them that much. I hung up on him. Then Jennifer called me from jail. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Madison, she said. Her voice was thin and shaky. Thank you for answering. What do you want? I asked. I want to tell you that I do not blame you for not testifying. I know you are angry. You have every right to be. Then why are you calling? Because I need you to know something, Jennifer said. When we took you, we were told you were being given up for adoption. The woman at the hospital, she said your mother could not care for you, that she was signing over her rights. We thought we were saving you, but she did not sign over her rights. I said, you just believed what you wanted to believe. You are right, Jennifer said quietly. We did. We were desperate to be parents, and we let that desperation make us blind. We convinced ourselves we were doing the right thing even when the evidence said otherwise, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. Good, I said. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but I need you to know that I love you. You are my daughter, Madison. Not biologically, not legally, but in every way that matters. And I am so proud of the person you have become. Stop, I said. You do not get to say that. You do not get to call me your daughter. You kidnapped me. You took me from someone who loved me. You do not get to feel good about raising me. I know, Jennifer said. She was crying now. I know, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I hung up. I did not hear from her again. The trial happened in August, right before I was supposed to leave for Cornell. I did not testify, but I sat in the courtroom and watched. Rebecca sat next to me holding my hand. The prosecution laid out the whole case. The surveillance footage of Jennifer and Daniel leaving the hospital with me. The falsified birth certificate, the fake social security number, the 18 years of hiding. The detective work that finally tracked them down. Daniel and Jennifer's lawyer tried to argue that they were victims too, that they had been lied to by the woman at the hospital who arranged the illegal adoption, that they truly believed they were helping a child. He painted them as loving parents who made one mistake. The jury did not buy it. They were found guilty on all counts: kidnapping, conspiracy, identity fraud, evading law enforcement. They were each sentenced to 15 years in prison. When the verdict was read, Jennifer collapsed in her seat. Daniel just stared straight ahead like he had expected it. I did not cry. I thought I would, but I did not. I just felt empty. After the trial, Rebecca asked me if I wanted to change my name legally, go back to being Emma Grace Holloway. I said no. I had been Madison Patterson for 18 years. That was who I was. Changing it would not change anything that happened. It would just be one more identity crisis on top of everything else. Rebecca said she understood. I left for Cornell in September. Rebecca drove me there. We loaded up her car with all my stuff and made the drive from Pennsylvania to New York. It was awkward at first. We did not really know how to talk to each other, but by the time we got to campus, it felt a little easier. She helped me move into my dorm. She met my roommate, a girl named Olivia from Boston who talked way too fast and had already covered her side of the room with posters of bands I had never heard of. Rebecca gave me a long hug before she left and told me to call her whenever I needed anything. I did call her. Not every day, but a few times a week. We would talk about my classes, about her work at the hospital, about random things like the weather or what we had for dinner. It was stilted sometimes, forced sometimes, but we were trying. In October, I got a letter from Daniel. It was short. He said he was sorry for everything, that he hoped I could forgive him one day, that he would always think of me as his daughter. He said Jennifer was not doing well in prison, that she cried every night, that she missed me. I did not write back. I tried to focus on school. I joined the pre-law society, made some friends, went to parties occasionally, even though I felt like I was just going through the motions. People People at Cornell knew who I was. The kidnapping case had been all over the news. Some people asked me about it. Most people pretended they did not know. Kayla came to visit me in November. She brought supplies for Thanksgiving since I was not going home. We made dinner in the dorm kitchen using a microwave and a hot plate. It was terrible, but we laughed the whole time. How are you really doing? Kayla asked as we sat on my bed eating burnt turkey and instant mashed potatoes. I do not know, I said honestly. Some days I am fine. Some days I feel like I am drowning. I keep thinking about how different my life could have been if Rebecca had raised me, or if Daniel and Jennifer had just adopted a kid legally, or if that woman at the hospital had never approached them. You cannot think like that, Kayla said. You will drive yourself crazy. I already am crazy, I said. Kayla bumped her shoulder against mine. You are the strongest person I know. You are going to get through this. I wanted to believe her. In December, I went to visit Rebecca in Cleveland for the first time. She picked me up from campus and drove me to her apartment. It was small but cozy, filled with plants and books. And there was the room she had mentioned, the room she had kept for me all these years. It was painted light yellow. There was a crib that I had obviously outgrown, shelves full of picture books and stuffed animals, a mobile hanging from the ceiling with stars and moons. On the wall was a huge collage of photos. Baby pictures of me from when I was with Rebecca, then nothing for 18 years, then suddenly pictures she had found online of me growing up. School photos, newspaper clippings, anything she could find. I stood in the doorway staring at it. I know it is weird, Rebecca said behind me. I probably should have put this stuff away before you came, but I could not. This room was the only thing that kept me going some days. I walked over to the collage. There was a picture of baby me with Rebecca, both of us smiling. Then an empty space where the next 18 years should have been. Then photos of teenage me at debate competitions and award ceremonies. I missed everything, Rebecca said quietly. Your first day of school, your first lost tooth, your first heartbreak, every birthday, every Christmas, every milestone. I missed all of it. She started crying. I am sorry. I am not trying to make you feel guilty. I am still processing all of this. I turned around and hugged her. It was the first time I had initiated physical contact with her. She held on to me like she was afraid I would evaporate. I am sorry too, I said. I am sorry this happened to you. None of this was fair. We spent the weekend together. She showed me her hospital where she worked as a nurse in the pediatric ward. We went to the diner where she used to work when I was a baby. She introduced me to her sister, my Aunt Valerie, who cried when she met me and kept saying I looked exactly like Rebecca did at my age. It was strange being there, seeing the life I could have had, but it was also nice. These people did not know Madison the valedictorian or Madison the debate champion. They just knew Emma, the baby who was taken from them, and they loved her anyway. When I went back to Cornell, Rebecca and I started talking more. Video calls instead of just phone calls. She told me stories about when I was a baby, about the 6 months we had together before I was taken. I told her about my classes, about the guy I had started dating named Ethan, about my worries about whether I was smart enough for law school. She was a good listener, better than Daniel or Jennifer had been if I was being honest. They had always pushed me to be perfect. Rebecca just wanted me to be happy. In February, something unexpected happened. I got a letter from Jennifer. Another one. This time it was thick, maybe 10 pages long. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity got the better of me. The letter was different from the first one. It was not asking for forgiveness or trying to justify what they had done. It was just honest. Jennifer wrote about her childhood, about being raised by an alcoholic mother who did not want her, about growing up feeling unloved and invisible. She wrote about meeting Daniel in college, about them dreaming of having a family, about the devastation when they found out she could not have children. She wrote about the desperation that led them to that woman at the hospital, how they had wanted a baby so badly that they ignored every red flag, every warning sign, how they convinced themselves that taking me was somehow noble, somehow right. She wrote about the guilt that ate at her every day, how she would watch me sleep and wonder about the mother who was missing me, how she almost turned herself in a dozen times over the years, but could not bring herself to do it because she loved me too much. She wrote about prison, about how she deserved to be there, about how every day was a punishment, but also a relief because she was finally being held accountable for what she had done. And at the end, she wrote, I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that loving you was the only real thing in my life. Everything else was lies and fear and running, but loving you was real, and that will have to be enough. I cried when I read it, big, ugly, sobbing tears, because I did love Jennifer. Even after everything, even knowing what she had done, some part of me still loved her. And I hated myself for it. I called Rebecca. I told her about the letter. I expected her to be angry, to tell me Jennifer was manipulating me, to remind me that she was the villain in all of this. Instead, Rebecca said, it is okay to love her, Madison. She raised you. She took care of you. That does not excuse what she did, but it does not make your feelings invalid either. How can you say that? I asked. She stole me from you. I know, Rebecca said, and I will never forgive her for that. But you do not have to choose between loving her and loving me. You can hold both things at the same time. Humans are complicated. Feelings are complicated. There is no rule that says you have to hate everyone who has hurt you. That conversation changed something for me. I realized I had been trying to make everything black and white. Daniel and Jennifer were the villains. Rebecca was the victim. I did not know what I was. The prize? The tragedy? The happy ending? But life is not a story with clear heroes and villains. People are messy and contradictory, and capable of both terrible and beautiful things. I wrote Jennifer back. It was a short letter. I said I was not ready to forgive her, and I might never be ready. But I thanked her for being honest, and I told her that I hoped she found peace in prison. I did not hear back from her, but I felt lighter after sending it. Spring semester passed in a blur. I threw myself into my studies, into my social life, into building this new version of myself that was neither Madison Patterson from Millbrook nor Emma Grace Holloway from Cleveland. I was just me, whoever that was. In April, I got an email from Daniel. He was getting out early on good behavior. He had served 2 years of his 15-year sentence, and with time off for good behavior and a recommendation from the prison psychologist, he was being released. The email said he understood if I did not want to see him, but if I ever changed my mind, he would be living with his brother in Pittsburgh. He included the address and phone number. I did not respond, but a week later, I called Rebecca. I asked her if she would drive to Pittsburgh with me. I said I needed to see Daniel to figure out what I felt, but I did not want to go alone. She said yes without hesitation. We drove to Pittsburgh on a Saturday in May. Daniel's brother lived in a small house in a working-class neighborhood. When we pulled up, I could see Daniel sitting on the front porch. He looked older, thinner, more worn down. down. When he saw me get out of the car, he stood up. He looked surprised, then hopeful, then scared. I walked up to the porch. Rebecca stayed by the car, giving me space but staying close enough if I needed her. Madison, Daniel said. His voice cracked. I did not think you would come. I did not think I would either, I said. We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. Then Daniel said, do you want to come inside? I can make coffee. No, I said. I am not staying. I just needed to see you. I needed to figure out what I wanted to say. Okay, Daniel said. He looked like he might cry. I am angry at you, I said. I am furious. You took me from someone who loved me. You lied to me my entire life. You built my whole existence on a crime. Daniel nodded. I know, I am sorry. But you also raised me, I said. You taught me things. You helped me become who I am. And I do not know how to reconcile those two things. How do I hold both the anger and the gratitude at the same time? I do not know, Daniel said. But I think that is what it means to be human. To hold contradictions. To love imperfect people. I cannot forgive you, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I wanted you to know that I do not hate you. I do not know what I feel. Daniel wiped his eyes. That is more than I deserve. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me a chance to see you one more time. I am going to law school, I said. I am still going to Cornell. I am still going to make something of myself. I never doubted that, Daniel said. You were always destined for great things, Maddie. Hearing him call me Maddie hurt in a way I was not expecting. I need to go, I said. Daniel nodded. Okay, can I hug you? I hesitated. Then I stepped forward and let him hug me. It was brief and awkward and sad. When I stepped back, we both had tears on our faces. Goodbye, Daniel, I said. Goodbye, Madison, he said. I walked back to the car where Rebecca was waiting. She did not ask any questions. She just started driving. We were halfway back to New York when I finally spoke. I think I'm going to be okay, I said. Rebecca glanced at me. Yeah, I said. I think I just needed to see him, to say what I needed to say. I do not know if I will ever see him again, but I think I can move forward now. Rebecca reached over and took my hand. I am proud of you. For what? For being strong enough to face this. For being kind even when you did not have to be. For becoming this incredible person despite everything. I squeezed her hand. I think I get it now. Why you never gave up looking for me. I would not have given up either. Rebecca smiled. You are my daughter. Of course I did not give up. That summer I stayed with Rebecca in Cleveland. I got a job at a bookstore and spent my free time getting to know her, getting to know my Aunt Valerie and my cousins, getting to know this whole part of my family I never knew existed. It was strange but also good. They welcomed me without expectations. They did not try to erase the 18 years I spent with Daniel and Jennifer. They just tried to build something new. In August, Rebecca drove me back to Cornell for my sophomore year. We stopped at a rest stop halfway there and got terrible coffee and even worse sandwiches. I have been thinking, Rebecca said as we sat in the car eating, about what to call each other. You do not call me Mom. You do not have to. But calling me Rebecca feels too formal. What do you want me to call you? I asked. I do not know, she said. Maybe we do not need a label. Maybe we just are what we are. And what is that? Rebecca smiled. Two people who are figuring it out as they go. Two people who care about each other and are building something new. Whatever that looks like. I like that, I said. We finished our sandwiches and got back on the road. When we got to campus, Rebecca helped me move in again. My roommate this year was a girl named Hannah, who was studying architecture and had somehow brought even more stuff than the year before. Rebecca and Hannah bonded over their shared love of plants, which was horrifying because it meant my side of the room was probably going to be turned into a jungle. Before Rebecca left, she gave me a small box. I have been carrying this around for 18 years, she said. I wanted to give it to you when you turned 18, but obviously that did not happen. So I am giving it to you now. I opened the box. Inside was a small silver bracelet with a charm on it. The charm was engraved with my birthday, March 15th, 2005. I bought this the day you were born, Rebecca said. I was going to give it to you when you were older. I held on to it all these years hoping I would get the chance. I put the bracelet on. It fit perfectly. Thank you, I said. Rebecca hugged me. I will call you tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day until you tell me to stop. I am not going to tell you to stop, I said. She smiled and left. That was 2 years ago. I am about to graduate from Cornell now. Rebecca is flying in for the ceremony. So is Kayla. So are Aunt Valerie and my cousins. I even invited my younger cousin from the Patterson side, the one who always sent me funny memes and never judged me for what happened. Jennifer is still in prison. She has 13 years left on her sentence. I have not visited her, but I write to her occasionally. Short letters about school, about life, about nothing important. She writes back every time. Daniel is living in Pittsburgh. He got a job doing bookkeeping for a small business. He calls me once every few months. We talk for maybe 10 minutes. It is awkward and painful, but also necessary. I do not know if we will ever have a real relationship, but I think we both need to try. I do not know what I am going to say in my valedictorian speech this time. Cornell does not do valedictorian speeches the way high school did, but I am speaking at the pre-law ceremony as the top of my class. I think I might talk about identity, about how we are not just one thing, how we are made up of all the people who loved us and hurt us and shaped us, about how the truth is complicated and messy and sometimes there are no clear answers. Or maybe I will just talk about perseverance, about how you can survive anything if you keep moving forward. I have not decided yet. Rebecca and I talk every day now, sometimes multiple times a day. She tells me about her patients at the hospital. I tell her about my internship at a law firm. We send each other memes and articles and random thoughts. It feels normal now, like she has always been part of my life. Last week she asked me if I ever regret what happened, if I wish I had grown up with her instead of with Daniel and Jennifer. I thought about it for a long time. Then I said no. Not because Daniel and Jennifer were right to take me. They were not. What they did was unforgivable. But because I cannot imagine being anyone other than who I am right now. And if things had been different, I would be someone else entirely. Rebecca said she understood. She said she used to fantasize about what life would have been like if I had never been taken. But she has stopped doing that. Because this is the life we have. And it is not perfect, but it is ours. I have been accepted to Yale Law School. I start in the fall. Rebecca is already planning visits. She wants to come see me once a month, take me out to dinner, make sure I am eating properly. It is motherly in this way that makes me uncomfortable, but also makes me feel safe. Kayla is getting married next summer. She asked me to be her maid of honor. I said yes. She said the wedding is going to be ridiculous and over the top and exactly what she always dreamed of. I told her I could not wait. Life is moving forward. Slowly, messily, but forward. I still think about that day at graduation sometimes. The moment the police walked in, the moment my entire world shattered, the moment I realized I was not who I thought I was, but I also think about all the moments after. Meeting Rebecca for the first time, building a relationship with her, learning to hold complicated feelings about the people who raised me, figuring out who I am when everything I thought I knew is stripped away. I do not have any profound conclusions about what happened. I do not think there is a lesson here or a moral to the story. Bad things happen to good people. Good people do bad things. Life is complicated and painful and occasionally beautiful. All I know is that I am Madison, or Emma, or whoever I decide to be tomorrow. I am the product of two families, one built on lies and one stolen by crime, and somehow I survived both, and I am still here, still standing, still moving forward. That has to count for something.